A lot of people think they're going to get a spousal benefit from Social Security, only to find out that they can't, at least not yet. If you're married or divorced, you need to understand what these rules are and when you might get that green light and when you might be stuck at red. You might hit the right age, but there are a few key things that need to line up before you're eligible to get a spousal benefit payment. It's not just about reaching age 62, and there's a lot of frustration on this when people find out that they're not going to get what they thought, at least not when they thought. So, in this video, we'll talk about what it actually takes to unlock the spousal benefit so that your plans for retirement are realistic. To set the stage, we are talking about spousal benefits, so not survivor benefits. We're assuming that everybody is still alive. There could be cases where you were married to somebody who has passed away and you are now currently married to or divorced from somebody else who is still living. So there can be complications here, but we're sticking with the simpler cases, and then you can dive into more detailed stuff later if you need to. We're not going to spend too much time on how much you'll get. So this is really more about, can you or can you not get that benefit at some point in time? Okay, so briefly, what is a spousal benefit? This is a payment that you might get based on your spouse or your ex-spouse, if you're divorced, on that person's work record. This might happen if you never worked outside of the home, never paid into Social Security, or maybe you do have your own benefit from Social Security, but it's quite small. We're going to use the term, as everybody else does, pretty loosely here, spousal benefit. That could allow you to get up to 50% of a higher earning spouse's benefit at full retirement age. That's also known as their PIA, their benefit if they claimed at full retirement age. We're not necessarily talking about the amount they're getting each month. So they might be getting more if they delayed claiming. So they're going to get those delayed retirement credits. The increases of, let's say, 8% per year after full retirement age, those do not go on to a spousal benefit. Or if they claimed early and they got a reduction, that is also not how we're going to calculate the spousal benefit. The spousal benefit is calculated based on what they would get if they claim at their full retirement age. And I want to emphasize the part about being up to half of that. So it's possibly 50%, but it is often less than that. So if you claim early, then you will not get 50% of their full retirement age benefit. Not going to spend a lot of time on this. I've got a whole separate video. Go check that out if you want the explanations. But for now, suffice to say that if you take your benefits before your full retirement age, you will not get half of the other person's PIA. That is a big surprise to a lot of people. Anyway, if you have a benefit of your own, let's say you did work and pay into Social Security for a number of years, then the what we'll call the spousal benefit essentially has two parts. You've got your own benefit plus a spousal top off. Those two combined could get you up to 50% of the higher earners' benefit if they claimed at full retirement age. For an example, let's say that the higher earning spouse has a benefit at their full retirement age of $3,000 per month. That is their PIA, their benefit at full retirement age. You are the lower earning spouse, and your PIA is $1,000 per month. Now, you might be able to get up to $1,500 per month total out of Social Security. So that difference from your $1,000 of your own benefit to $1,500 of total benefit, including a spousal benefit, is $500. We can call that $500 the spousal benefit. In this case, the total household income would be $4,500 if you get that full 50%. So we've got $3,000 plus $1,500 for a total of $4,500 per month, at least as long as both of you are still alive. Once again, I cannot overemphasize that you'll only get that much if the lower earner waits until their full retirement age to start all of their benefits. Now let's get into when can you get those benefits? When do they become unlocked? And we're going to talk about the most basic married and divorced couples here. There can be other exceptions and complications. If you have a qualifying child in care or in other situations, there are going to be different rules. So we're starting here and you may need to dig deeper. When it comes to couples that are currently married, you need to be married for at least 1 year. You both need to be at least age 62 to get these spousal benefits going. And here's the part that often trips people up. It's that your spouse or the higher earner must be taking benefits. So that's what unlocks the spousal benefit for the lower earner. All right. So if you have your own benefit, you can start taking that at any time, but there will be no spousal top off until the higher earner has claimed. Again, once they claim, that opens the door to that spousal benefit or that top off. There's not a whole lot more to it than that. It's just you can't get spousal benefits while somebody else's benefit continues to grow. So once they claim, their benefit stops growing with delayed retirement credits. They will still get inflation adjustments, and if they're earning more, that might bump up their income a bit. But the idea is that once somebody starts claiming, that can unlock the spousal benefit for a lower earner in that household or in that marriage. There used to be a way to get around that. It was called the file and suspend strategy. That is no longer available. So if you're hearing about that sort of thing, check and see if that's what somebody's talking about. We're going to get into some examples and FAQs in a minute, but let's talk about divorced people. To get a spousal benefit off of an ex-spouse, then you must have been married for at least 10 years. You have to be, again, 62 or older. Your spouse must be eligible for retirement or disability from Social Security. In a lot of cases, that just means that they're age 62 or older as well, but there may be some wrinkles. You must be unmarried, right? Not currently married to get a spousal benefit off of an ex-spouse. A potentially tricky area here is a 2-year waiting period. So if your ex is not taking benefits, then you might also, in addition to all the requirements we just said, you might also need to wait 2 years after the divorce is finalized to claim for a spousal benefit. Now, if you have your own benefit, you can take that at any time. But again, remember, claiming early could result in reduced benefits overall. But the tricky part is this waiting period. Does it apply or not? So if your ex is taking benefits, they're taking their retirement income, for example, or maybe when you were married, you were getting spousal benefits. And by definition, that means that your ex had claimed, because again, if you're the lower earning spouse who was getting a spousal benefit, it could have only happened if the higher earning spouse, who's now your ex, had already started that benefit. So if you are currently getting spousal benefits at the time of divorce, or if your ex decides to go ahead and claim, then you don't need to wait those 2 years. Or if, let's say, you're in that 2-year waiting period, you're going to have to wait 2 years, but after, let's say, 8 months, your ex goes ahead and claims for their retirement income, then that would cut short the period because they have unlocked it by starting their income. So to recap that, if your ex has not claimed, you might need to wait 2 years, but don't assume that you have to wait 2 years in every situation, because you don't in every situation. A few things worth mentioning: that your ex will never know if you take benefits off their record. They're not going to find out. Social Security Administration does not tell them. And it will also not reduce their benefits in any way or reduce the benefits for their new family members, let's say a spouse or kids. If you're concerned about taking away from them, that's simply not the case. In fact, your ex might have multiple different ex-spouses in the same situation as you who are taking divorced spousal benefits off of their work record. All right, now a quick word about reductions. We are not talking about when you should take benefits here. So just remember that if you do start before your full retirement age, you should expect to see a reduced benefit, and that would typically last for as long as you live, or maybe you can switch to a survivor benefit at some point. But the reduction exists. We're not saying when you should, we're just talking about when you could get a spousal benefit. And let's talk through a few scenarios to help paint the picture. This might help solidify things for you. So, married couple number one, we've got a lower earning spouse who turns age 62. The higher earner is 64 and has not filed. The question is, can that lower earner start taking spousal benefits? And the answer is no, not yet. They are unable to start that benefit until the higher earner unlocks it by starting their retirement income. Remember that the lower earner could claim on their own record if they have a work history of paying into Social Security, but there would be no spousal top off until that spousal benefit gets unlocked when the higher earner starts their benefit. And of course, if the lower earner does claim early, then the total amount they get once the spousal benefit is unlocked, once that top off comes in, the total amount that they're going to get would likely be less than half of the higher earner's PIA because they started early, got that permanent reduction of their own benefit. Even if they get a full spousal top off, they've got that reduction of their own benefit that's bringing down the total amount. Next, we have a divorced couple, and the divorce was finalized 1.5 years ago. The ex is 67 years old, and you are 65 years old. So you're both over age 62. Could you get a spousal benefit based on your ex-spouse's work record? And what we need to look at here is that 2-year waiting period. So the ex is not taking benefits, or if the ex is not taking benefits, then you would need to wait another half a year until you could start getting that spousal benefit. Again, you could claim on your own record, but no spousal benefit until that 2-year waiting period is satisfied. Or if the ex goes ahead and starts taking their own benefit, then you could cut short that waiting period. Next, we've got a divorced couple. The divorce was finalized 5 years ago, and they're both age 62. In that case, we check all the boxes. So you've met the age requirements to get the benefits. You've satisfied the 2-year wait. It doesn't matter if your ex has claimed or not. You could go ahead and start getting a spousal benefit. Again, it would be reduced given your age. And a couple of frequently asked questions here. Let's say somebody says, my spouse is 70, but I'm only 60. Can I get a spousal benefit now? And the answer is no, you must be 62 to start getting spousal benefits. You could potentially get a survivor benefit or even earlier than that if you're disabled. But again, we are sticking to spousal benefits where everybody is still alive in this video. So the answer is no, you've got 2 more years to wait. Next, the question is, we were married 9 years and divorced, and I'm going to go ahead and update that and say 9 years and 11 months. Can I file on their record? The answer would be no. It must be that 10-year period. As Mary Beth Franklin likes to say, there must be 10 years between I do and I don't. So if you're getting close, keep that in mind as you do the timing of your divorce. Next is, if I claim early, does that reduce the spousal portion also? And the answer is yes. Taking your benefits before your full retirement age reduces your total benefit, including the spousal top-off. This probably confuses people more than anything else. And again, I've got a whole separate video on that. It's about, I won't get half. And so if you do claim early, the amount you'll get in total will be less than 50% of the higher earner's PIA. Next, a very common question, can I take a spousal benefit now, switch to my own later? The answer is no. If you file today, you're typically subject to deemed filing, meaning you have to take whatever the biggest is. And that goes back to our theme of unlocking. You're opening the door to all of your retirement income, so you can't delay one while collecting the other. Next, am I allowed to claim even if I'm still working? The answer is yes, but if you're before your full retirement age, the earnings test might leave you with less cash flow than you expected, so keep that in mind. Plus, you'll likely pay tax on most of your benefits, so it might be better to delay. Just depends on a number of factors. Again, there can always be complications here. We've been talking about where everybody is still alive. There are no deceased ex spouses, disability, child and care, or any of that stuff. So, this should be a start for you, but you need more information than this. And remember that once somebody dies, then additional strategies could be available, including switching benefits. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please leave a quick thumbs up, and I look forward to talking to you soon.